Let's see, there's hello, Melissa. Second meeting with you today, too. Oh, Jean Josie, Michael Connerin. Happy early holidays. Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead and get the meeting started.
Terrific, thank you. All right, well, welcome to today's December 6th Wheels LAVTA board meeting. I'll call the meeting to order, and could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, so Vice Chair Halbert is not in the meeting right now. Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Josie?
Here.
Director Kick?
Here.
Director Narum?
Here.
Livermore alternate Warner?
Here.
Chair Brown?
Here.
We have a quorum, and hold on one second. Okay, no, I thought maybe David Halbert was an attendee, but actually he's logging in right now. Do you want to wait for a second?
Well, we'll just finish our roll call with
Here.
Vice Chair Halbert?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. We have a quorum and more. I love it. Thank you. All right. So this next agenda item is meeting open to the public. These are for items in the responsibility of the Wheels LAVTA bus organization. And these are referring to items not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
So if anybody would like to speak, please raise your hand. I don't see anybody raising their hand right now, and I did not receive any comments via email.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and close the meeting open to the public portion of our meeting for items not on the agenda and move on to our Tri-Valley Accessory Advisory Committee. Could we have a report, please?
I am in the process of promoting him over right now.
Right.
There you go. Nice. See the ugly face.
Nah. Welcome to our meeting, Mr. Hastings.
You're welcome, Madam Chair, Madam Chair, President, and Mayor. I'm still trying to, it's tongue tying. But anyways, hope everyone's been doing good. Hope they all had a nice Thanksgiving holiday. And now what, Christmas in 20-something days?
Yeah.
Oh no. Hope the Grinch isn't too bad. Okay, I'm here to give the November Advisory Committee meeting report. Let's see where we're going to start. Oops, that's not wrong sheet. There we are. All right, we had our meeting in November. I started a new topic in the agenda, and it's called Chair Report, which I've just started to use because I've been doing a lot of projects for LAVTA staff, or involving myself with LAVTA staff, so that I'm now giving a consistent status of for the committee, so they find out what's been happening or what's been going on. And the first report that I have is, first part of the report is, successfully after several efforts of work with staff, I finally was able to start an ongoing, consistent effort of joining the fixed route driving training program. I am now part of the agenda, as in when they do the new drivers trainings. So I gave my first training report, or the first presentation. And what the idea of this presentation, what this training is to do is, after several issues and continued complaints and concerns from members about sensitivity for passengers, ambulatory and non-ambulatory as well, as in wheelchair users, I decided to bring it up, and the training is involved in a minor sensitivity training. The idea of having me and the acting vice chair, which is Sean Costello, to start attending regular trainings so that Sean can give the wheelchair version of what's it like to be a passenger, talking to the drivers themselves. He's doing that. And I'm going to be doing a sensitivity training of introducing the committee members, because a lot of the new drivers aren't aware, and they always ask questions about what is this TVAC bus pass. They don't know, even though they're supposed to have the packet listed with everyone's bus passes, all the different access passes that are around that are used. A lot of drivers have not been aware of our committee. And so I started doing that. And so that was the first thing. This last month was the first training, was done in, I think, October. And so there'll be a regular schedule that I get involved with. Then we also, staff mentioned about the Dollar Rides customer satisfaction survey that's being performed or being done and sent out the postcards. And in fact, I got a postcard, so I get to send one in. Let's see. So that's what we got to report. There was a short report for PACO, so we updated the latest on PACO's meetings. Then staff informed us about we were wondering about the hybrid meetings being done in the future, where possible attendance, where some of the meetings can be done on Zoom or on site in the future. I mean, we all know we have to wait, but it was a consistent question that's been coming around. And then the staff had informed us about postponing the fare increase, which the committee was 100% in agreement with. So please postpone as long as you can. That is my report.
Thank you, Herb. I appreciate it. Thanks for your presentation. All right, we're on to the consent.
Everyone have a nice holiday.
Thank you. You too. Safe holiday. So we're on to the consent agenda. These are items normally approved in a single vote. We do have 3 items on the consent agenda. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak on the consent items?
I do not see anybody as an attendee that wants to speak. And again, I didn't receive anything via email.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments or a motion on the consent item?
So I'll move it, except for I wasn't here for the November 1st meeting for the minutes.
So if you move it, then you're trying to say.
Well, it's a
that's
question of
happened
in some organizations, it doesn't matter whether you were present or not. So I don't know, can't remember what it is here, but I'm just pointing out I wasn't here.
You
for
can
the
move.
first.
You can
It
move
doesn't
and vote
matter.
on it.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded, and our city attorney, as he has stated before, that you can move on it, providing you read it and maybe even talk to Gina about it. But all right, so I have a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, could we take a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Vice Chair Halbert,
Aye.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Josie,
Aye.
Director Kick,
Aye.
Director Narum,
Aye.
Livermore Alternate Warner,
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Yes, aye.
Motion passes.
All right, and as referred to Mr. Herb Hastings about a potential extension or timeline for a fare increase, could we have a staff report on agenda item 6?
Tony, you okay with this staff report?
It has your name on it. I thought you would catch that, but you didn't.
No, I caught it about 10 seconds ago.
Okay, so back in 2018, the board approved a whole series of fare changes that took place in January of 2019. And as part of the public input process, we received some input from the Tri-Valley Accessible Advisory Committee, recommending that 2 of our changes be implemented in 2 phases. The first phase was in January of 2019, and the second was to be done in January of 2021. And then COVID happened. And so last year, we brought a motion to the board to postpone those 2 increases. One was for the senior and disabled monthly pass, and the other was for the Dial-A-Ride single fare, which was going to go from $3.75 as it is currently to $4. And the monthly pass was going to go from $22 to $25. So we said, let's put that off for a year and let's get this COVID thing behind us. And so here we are today. This COVID thing is behind us, and no, it's not. And so we're actually coming back to the board recommending that we push this increase down another year and push it back to January of 2023, when hopefully everything will be behind us.
You had mentioned in the staff report the cost to LAVTA. Could you bring that up as well?
It amounts to about $400 a month. But $400 a month actually assumes full ridership. So the true impact is probably far less than that.
By proportion, we're about 60%. Is that?
We're at about 50 to 60% on the fixed route system, but because so many of those are students, and Access-A-Ride is not, I don't exactly know what percentage we're at on Access-A-Ride or Dial-A-Ride. So the increase is less than $400 a month,
Okay.
or the delta.
Do you have any questions on the staff report? Clarified questions. Okay. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Jennifer?
There are no hands raised, and I didn't receive anything via email from the public.
All right. We certainly did hear from Herb Hastings asking that we delay that. So with that, you're looking for a motion?
An action.
An action. So a motion made and seconded and voted on. So
I'm
could we
happy-
yeah, go ahead.
I'm happy to move the staff recommendation that we delay that.
And Hernandez will second.
Okay. Motion made by Josie, seconded by Hernandez. Could we take a roll call vote, please?
Vice Chair Habert,
Aye.
Director Hernandez,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Aye.
Director Kick,
Aye.
Director Narum,
Aye.
Livermore alternate Warner,
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, we've been hearing about this in the news quite a bit, and it even came up in our discussion earlier today with the 5 mayors, the Tri-Valley, about federal funds and how that might be affected with PEPRA, our pension reform law here in California. So could we have an agenda report from staff on item 7, please?
So that's a legal item, and it comes to me. I have to say this is the most obscure provision of federal transit law. And so I'm happy to introduce it. I think our firm actually began working with LAVTA just as it was formed, because one of my partners was an expert in this particular area. The really good news in talking to a staff is that so far we have not had any grants blocked because of this. And hopefully, because we do not have a unionized force, I mean, the drivers are members of a union, but they don't work for us. They work for our contractor. And so therefore, we're not necessarily one of the agencies that would be singled out. And the last time this happened, which was about 8 years ago, we were spared. So fingers crossed this won't come up. But just in case you wanted to know, I'll give you a real quick summary. It's in the staff report. So every federal grant has to have a sign off from the Department of Labor to indicate that the grant won't affect workers adversely. If you were to look at the front page of a federal grant, you would see that one of the first things it lists are all the union, not just the unions that work for the agency, but every union in the area. And this all goes back to when the federal grant government started giving money for transit agencies. They were mostly transitioning from private employers who had good union contracts. They were going to public agencies. And the last thing the federal government, especially during the Great Society under Lyndon Johnson, wanted to do was adversely affect their working conditions, make them accept lower wages or other lesser benefits. So that started this whole process. I think that was probably a good policy move at the time. We're long past that era. Right now, where I think this law comes up is when there's a federal grant that actually does put a worker out. And for Caltrain, we work for, they got a grant for ticket machines, and they still had two ticket agents in a booth selling tickets. Well, they lost their job as a result of the federal grant that replaced them with a ticket machine, and they were entitled to benefits under 13C, which is either retraining or lengthy unemployment benefits. So that's the right use of this law. I think it's less accurate to try to use it with regard to the pension benefits. And obviously the state made a big decision to implement PEPRA, kind of reduce some of the liabilities of agencies for retirement benefits. Some of the unions were not happy with that. They challenged this way back in 2013 when it was first put in place. It went to court and the unions lost. But part of that happened after the change in administrations. And so with the more recent change in administrations and the influence, I think, of the labor unions with the Department of Labor, they've started blocking grants. And I think we included in the board packet a letter from the governor, and you can tell by the strength of the advocacy in that letter that this is an important issue for California. We're watching it because a lot of our clients are affected by it. The good news, though, is that hopefully it will pass us by, because really PEPRA does not affect any union that is related to LAVTA. So maybe we get a pass on this one. Maybe you don't have to think about 13C again. It's one of these, at the time it was adopted, I think it made a lot of sense. Right now, it's not really being used, I think, in the appropriate way, but reasonable minds may differ on that question. So happy to answer any further questions, but that's probably all you wanted to know.
No, that's really helpful. I have two questions, and I don't see anyone with their hand raised yet. Are there other states besides the state of California that have a PEPRA type retirement system?
Well, the federal government actually did it. I mean, just reading that governor's letter, right? The feds adopted a similar thing. I don't know if they've quite done that. I'm not aware, just from the national transit field, I'm not aware of any other states that are facing this. 13C is weird. In the South, where they don't allow unions, public employee unions in every state, they have to go through these backflips of creating these subsidiary nonprofit organizations. It's a mess. But for this issue, PEPRA, no, I haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything the same. And I think we fully expect that the case will come out in favor. It's just that with the change in administration, the DOL is now on the side of the union, and the state is, and the transit agencies are on their side. So interesting public policy. I again had a good history, important, interesting to know. I mean, so clearly once the automobile came into effect, all the private transit operators were, basically put out of service. You know, we live how we do. But no, not aware of other states that have this sort of issue.
Okay, and my second question at this time. The way I read the articles in the paper, and obviously you're the experts, so that's why I'm asking the question, is that the entire state could be affected by this potential requirement of non-PEPRA. So are you saying that individual grants and organizations are considered independently?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So every grant, again, has all those unions listed. When a grant comes in, and Tamara could show you more, she deals with the day-to-day, that grant gets sent to the DOL. And she actually gets emails from each union saying either we're fine with it or we object. So we'll kind of have a play-by-play for our grants as to whether or not, and it's the ATU is the one that's been objecting. But again, and if they're listening, you know, there's no reason to object to our grants because we you know, it's not going to matter to you know, there's no unionized employees that it's going to affect. And again, the claim is that by legally restricting what a state can offer, you know, it limits the ability of the union to collectively bargain, that aspect of the employment relationship is fixed as a result of the adoption of PEPRA, which it is. But that's really not, they can still bargain about everything else. And I think that was what the court looked at. So.
Got it. All right. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? This is an information. Yes, Director Josie.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it's not really our purview, but because it affects all of the transportation in the state,
right.
Would there be any impact on Valley Link right out the gate? I know Valley Link doesn't have unionized employees yet because there's no employees to be had at this point, but there are certainly federal dollars that Valley Link is going after. Is the impact at this point to Valley Link?
Shouldn't be, because they're kind of in the same situation that LAVTA is. They don't have a, you know, a labor union contract. I don't know going down the road. I mean, it's going to be quite a while before they're going to have operating, hopefully not too long, but quite a while before they have operating rail and would likely have a union contract. So no, I think we're okay. I don't want to get into the ugly thing of, well, is there going to be more money available to us because the other people won't be able to take it? I don't think we want to think that way. I was just on a call today and sort of hearing about the infrastructure bill with Congressman Swalwell, and that it's a competitive process. So, but he seemed to think there was a lot of money available for Valley Link, which was really great news.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you. Any other questions?
I do.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Nara, Director Nara.
Has there been any conversation with our federal legislators, just making them aware of this and trying to gain their support?
We could. I mean, I think that letter from the governor was pretty strong. Yeah, we could. I don't know, Michael, what's the lobbying relationship? I mean, certainly through APTA, the American Public Transit Association. I'm sure they're very aware of this. This is something that's been discussed at our annual transit law conferences for quite a few years. So it's front and center, at least to the transit industry. Michael, any comment on the legislative folks?
Yeah, we haven't done anything individually, but you're right. I mean, we've been working with California Transit Association. They've been active in getting information out to the legislature back in DC, and then also through APTA. So those have been the two avenues that we've been working on.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Looks like we don't have any more comments. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
You and the governor writing those strong letters.
Oh, yeah. I think they listen to him, not me.
So we're looking at amending and restating an employment agreement with our executive director. I assume that's as well. That is you, Mr. Connery? That's
me. So last month we had talked in closed session and negotiated with Michael a certain compensation amount. At the time we brought it to the board in open session, there was a concern about the amount of compensation that he could receive through the 457 plan. So we decided to hold off. We declared that his compensation was uncertain so that we can have essentially be retroactive for all of 10 days. So, and the other thing we did was realize that we've been working with all these different amendments, and it was just time to put together one single amended restated contract. So that's what you have in front of you. You have the entire agreement. And I've just triple checked, and we're good with the 457 amount confirmed by tomorrow. So I think we're ready to go. So this is essentially the same numbers that we had previously discussed. They're just in a fresh package, single contract. So we can work with it. So I would recommend its approval unless you have questions.
Before we do that, we'll see if there's anybody from the audience, but any comment, clarifying questions? Okay. Jennifer, do we have anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this agenda item?
If they could raise their hand, any attendees that would like to speak? I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands, and I didn't receive any public comment via email.
Okay, thank you. I'll close the public hearing and see if any of our board members would like to make a motion or comment.
Well, I'd be happy to move approval of the new contract for our executive director, Michael Tree.
And
as
I will
stated in
second.
the agenda packet.
Okay, motion made. by
Hernandez will
Nam,
second.
Seconded by Hernandez. Any comments before we take a vote? Well, there you go. That we've already said so many good things about you, Executive Director Tree, but you've been a pleasure to work with, and it's nice that Bob Warner and I'm trying to remember if David Halbert was on board as the mayor of Dublin. Yes, so three of us have helped tap you to be our new executive director, and we've always been very proud to be a part of that decision. Good one, a good one. So that I absolutely support. So we have a motion. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay.
Yes, Vice Chair Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Hernandez,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Aye.
Director Kick,
Aye.
Director Narum,
Aye.
Livermore Alternate Warner,
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Aye, yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you.
And how many years has it been since you started with LAVTA?
7.
7. No, that's
2014.
lucky 7. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, actually, this is perfect timing because we are looking for an executive director's report.
Yeah. Well, hey, good evening, everybody. And thanks again. I really appreciate working here. And, staff just makes everyone look good as we move forward. The first couple of items in the executive director's report really deal with the ridership. And you can see that, again, we're starting to rebound on the ridership a little bit with retaining the student riders. But certainly there were some really great things happening last week with the toy drive and with Angie's Way. I think that was probably the week prior, but then the parades. And I thought it'd be great to hear from Tony. He's been working day and night to piece all this together. And I do have a picture, Tony, of the inside of that bus with the toy drive. So when you're ready, just give me the word and I can share
All
it.
right. Well, we'll kick off with the ridership and November's ridership. For most of the weekdays, we were at 3,500 per weekday, which is where we are the first few days of December as well. Dropped off pretty dramatically the week of Thanksgiving because we didn't have the school trippers running. So that took about 1,000 a day off of those numbers. And as I always painfully remind us, back in November of 2019, pre-pandemic, we were in the middle of our hot streak of 6 straight months of double-digit ridership growth, and we were carrying between 7,500 and 8,000 passengers a day, which was one of the reasons why we won the big award from LAVTA. So ridership's kind of holding its own. The toy drive, you can throw the picture up. This was the week of our toy drive with KKIQ radio station. That's Mel McKay. And the bus is stuffed with all of those boxes are full of toys. The first gentleman that showed up while we were still setting up the the tent and everything, showed up with a box truck and opened up the back of it, and there were 14 brand new bicycles being delivered. So that was the first donation, was 14 really nice bikes. Then shortly after that, someone from the Richmond Rod and Gun Club came with an envelope that contained $8,300 in cash. And that was a rather significant donation. And so that money will also be used to purchase toys. And then we had during a 4-hour period, we just had cars driving up every few minutes, including one that contained Mayor and Chair Carla Brown, who showed up with toys in hand to donate to the event, and got on the air with Mel McKay and made a proclamation that every citizen in Pleasanton should get in their car and come out to the toy drive.
Well, at
And
least I asked.
yeah, you asked.
I did. She was like so extremely friendly. Now I know why she's a radio personality. She was just
Yeah,
so excited. Oh, I know who you are. And I said, how do you know who I am? She goes, because I voted for you. Like, oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
So she was super
Mel
friendly.
McKay is really, really fun to work with. We've done toy drives and food drives with Mel for the last 4 or 5 years. The next story, so all those toys are going to be donated, or they were donated to the Toys for Tots, and the Livermore Pleasanton Firefighters Foundation will take care of distribution. All the toys will remain here in the Tri-Valley. So nothing leaves the area, everything stays here. Next story, mask mandate was due to expire for transportation on January the 18th. That has been extended, and now it is through at least mid-March. So we'll be changing out the signs on our buses, and we have ordered an additional supply of 3-ply surgical masks so that we'll have them on hand to hand out. Finally, I don't know if anybody has seen it yet, but NBC Bay Area reporter Garvin Thomas does a segment twice a week called Bay Area Proud, where he focuses on an individual or two who have really made a difference, who have done something extraordinary to make a difference in the Bay Area. And this segment was almost 4 minutes long and focused on the whole naming of the Angie's Way entrance to our transit center. And it was just a real heartfelt story, and it featured Terry Gibbons, who probably every one of you have heard from at some point, because he either called you or wrote you an email asking you to name the street Angie's Way. And the story was just really well done. And if you have not seen it, you can go to the NBC Bay Area website and scroll down to Bay Area Proud and watch that segment.
Yeah, as well as our own Tony McCullough, who was also celebrated, all that you and Tony did together. I was proud to be there with Mayor Hernandez and Mayor Warner, and we had one other. Let's see what happened there, but
Josie.
Jean Josie, yes, thank you. And we were there to unveil Angie's Way.
And we had, there was about 100 people there, which was unbelievable. I really did not expect to have more than 20 or 25 people show up, but they just kept streaming in, and at least half.
It was
or
all
more,
her family.
all her family. You're exactly right. And some had come from as far away as Kansas. Some had come in from all over the state of California. Angie's story was that unfortunately she passed away during the start of COVID, and the family was unable to have a proper funeral. And I think this kind of served that purpose for everyone to get together and really honor her legacy.
Yeah, I did watch the video and it was awesome how they went into her family's homes and Terry's homes. It was a
Yeah.
good piece. So
Yeah,
thank you. Good job on our marketing this
Thank you.
season. Okay, so that is our executive director's report from Tony, and Michael. Do we have any matters initiated by the board, items that you'd like on a future agenda that you'd like to discuss? Yes, Brittany?
This isn't really a matters initiated, but just a shout out to the Dial-A-Ride team. I've recently moved, and right across from where I live, there is a group home for adults with developmental disabilities, and they are there every day, and they're just very professional and awesome, and we wave, and it's nice to see it in action regularly. Usually if you're not a Dial-A-Ride user, you don't see them very often. So just a shout out to them, and to keep up the good work.
Awesome. Well, earlier, yeah, you're going to probably do what I was going to do, but go right ahead, board member Howard.
Oh, no, I think it's going to be different than what you were going to do. I have a shout out for Michael Tree. And this comes along the lines of Thanksgiving Day, when the paratransit system wasn't able to pick up Sean Costello to bring him to a lunch that was being given out for free at Rebel Kitchen in Livermore. And he really wanted to go because he could greet people. He was going to help out distributing lunches by greeting people, and then also have a lunch for himself. And we were wondering, well, what's happening here? And so I called Michael Tree, and he looked into it, and wasn't able to get the paratransit there. It was a holiday, and miscommunication on things. So then I get a photo, and so I went to bring Sean his turkey dinner, and a few extras for the people that were working at the hotel that he was staying at while his apartment was being redone. And then I get a photo on text from Michael Tree sitting with Sean in his room watching the Raider game. So just great additional camaraderie from our general manager. It just was well above and beyond the call of duty. And Michael, I don't know of any other general manager that would have done that except for you. And I want to say great job and thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry we didn't get him there on that Thanksgiving Day, but I was happy that he got to go to the event on Sunday, and certainly had a good time with them in the evening time with the football game.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. The next day, Michael even shows up to help make sure that Sean does get to church on time through paratransit. And a great job, Michael. That's another above and beyond the call of duty. Not only making sure he got the ride, but being there when he did arrive to make sure that it would happen. Thank you.
I have one more pat on the back for our organization. You might recall that we formed an ad hoc group between LAVTA and 3CTA to try to provide paratransit into Contra Costa County and the 3CTA region, and for them to be able to bring their riders into the LAVTA region. And so I know this is not agendized, but I would like to see it on the agenda so that our board members can learn more about the success of the pilot program and how we're actually able to bring costs down, because the ridership is, yay, going up. And that's that's really important, that relationship between the number of riders and the cost to provide service. So could we please add that as a future agenda?
You bet. The PNS committee is going to be busy in December. You've got that on the PNS committee, and then it'll come to the board in January. And then you've got the CTE, the zero emission bus master plan for December at the PNS committee. So, but it's on its way.
And maybe a tour of the Gillig facility. Yay, that was something we talked about as well. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to raise any items This is our last meeting, so I want to make sure I say happy holidays to everyone. I hope you and your family are safe and able to celebrate by Zoom or in person safely and avoiding any kind of a COVID contamination, even these crazy new ones that are coming into our country. So, any other comments before we wrap up? Okay, our next meeting is 2022. So January 10th next year. Have a great holiday.
Great.
Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you. Holidays.